in 2009 is when I entered the solar industry after having been an internet entrepreneur and tech industry worker prior to that. And we had built CivicSolar, which was kind of like an Amazon marketplace.
Yeah, I
like
remember that
platform.
CivicSolar.
Yeah,
So you're the one that started that?
I was one of the 3 co-founders. Yeah,
Great, awesome.
Yeah, with my 2 co-founders, Michael Goldberg and Michael Paler, we started CivicSolar in 2009 and ran it and grew it to about 70 employees until 2019, and then we sold it to our largest brick and mortar competitor, CED GreenTech or GreenTech
CED
Renewables.
bought CivicSolar.
That's right, in
And you
2009.
made billions, so you're a billionaire. That's cool.
I
Uh-huh.
actually made more money from my first venture, which was one of the earliest social networks in the world, which
Are you
I
are you
started.
Tom from MySpace? Is that your nickname?
I was essentially, I don't know if you know the Bebo.com, which was kind of the MySpace for the UK Irish market, but it was
Oh yeah.
ran from San Francisco, interestingly, because
Huh.
it was another tech entrepreneur
Lots of
residing in.
Irish people there. Yeah.
Yep.
People named
And
Sean, stuff
so
like that.
so I was kind of like the Bebo of Turkey. Again,
Mhm.
ran from San Francisco, and we were kind of the Friendster MySpace equivalent for the Turkish
Uh-huh.
market, where we were for a while, we were the largest Turkish website in page views. And
Wow.
yeah, we had millions of young
So
Turks.
what happened to that?
We sold it to essentially the equivalent of Yahoo of Turkey,
Huh.
because at some point we surpassed their page views, and it was a defensive move for them and their primary investor, Tiger Global, which is a big hedge fund slash private equity and tech investor out of New York.
So that's why you're on the Forbes top 10 billionaires list?
No, I never really aspired to be, so after that exit actually is when I said to myself, okay, I made good enough money now that I can just follow my heart into something that has more social impact and less
Uh-huh.
monetary.
So you got into solar.
Yeah, and then I
Mhm.
got into solar. Civic
Yeah.
Solar exit was okay. It wasn't, we didn't lose investors' money. I think we had huge impact in the world and in the world of distributed and resi and small commercial solar in the US market mostly, but also beyond. And it was a great experience for a decade. We educated essentially, not in the way you educate, but we educated in a slightly different way, thousands of contractors to essentially we handheld them to do their first few projects and then hopefully kept them as loyal customers to keep buying panels, inverters, and all the other related equipment from us. So the kind of education we were doing was a little bit more like a value-added reseller education, educating electrical contractors, general contractors, HVAC contractors, and the like about which panels to buy, which panels work with which inverters, how to properly size a system,
So where was CivicSolar?
Yeah, we started, I don't know if you know the Hobart building, right at the intersection of 2nd and Market in San Francisco, downtown,
Oh,
right above the Fidelity and the Citibank at the corner of
sort
Post.
of. I think sort of. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just must be
Yeah,
them.
it's 100 and at this point it's a 110-year-old building. I think it was
Mhm.
completed in 2014. I mean, 1914 was when the build was
That must have
officially
been
open.
some expensive real estate. And then when did you?
No, it was a Class B building. It was not one of those Class A buildings. We
Huh.
were paying when we
Second and
first started.
Market? That's pretty downtown there, right?
Well, yeah, nowadays it's super cheap down there because
Huh.
it's zombie land. If you've been to San Francisco downtown
And
recently.
did you say you sold in 2019? Is that what you said?
Yeah, but so I built 2 companies in that building in San Francisco. My prior social networking business, I also started it. So, and it's a 20-story old Spanish style high rise for its era. In 1914, when that building, Hobart Building, was finished, it was the tallest building in San Francisco with 20 stories. And at its 100-year anniversary at 2014, I was its second oldest tenant, having been in the building for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the tenants were small companies, small practitioners of, there were therapists and accountants and small businesses. But then every once in a while you would get some cool startups. And we actually, at some point, we had the full floor of the 16th. I'm trying to remember which floor. I think we were on the 16th floor, and we had the whole floor. And then things were getting really hot with the whole Facebook tech economy in San Francisco. This is, trying to remember what year was this, probably around 2014 or 2015, 16. And at that point, we moved to Oakland. We took over the space of Emily Kirsch's Powerhouse.
Oh, sure.
We took one whole floor of that, or one whole wing of a floor. We took it
Okay,
over
yeah,
from
I'd been there before. Yeah.
what was the name of the big financing company, residential
Like
financing
Danny
company?
Kennedy, Sungevity.
No, not Sungevity. The other one. Anyway, we took over the space that I'm blanking out. The one that got an investment from Warburg Pincus. I'll remember the name.
Oh,
Anyway, so we took
so,
over their full wing of that company, and then pretty much ran CivicSolar from there. But at the same time, we Mosaic Solar is what I'm thinking
oh,
of.
Mosaic.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
took over Mosaic's old space, and then we launched also offices in Boston and Austin, Texas. So we had 3 sales offices of approximately 10 to 15 people each in the sales offices. So we had approximately 30 to 40 salespeople serving thousands of small contractor accounts with 3 offices. Most of our job, we almost never met face to face with our customers. And this is the innovation of our business, was really on the business model. We essentially brought a more efficient way to capture customers and to service customers like a distributor with no warehouses. So we had no traveling salesmen, we printed no catalogs, we did everything on the internet. We used Skype video in 2010 to establish rapport with our customers so that we could convince them to wire us, $5, $10, $20,000 without having ever met us in person and without having received the product first. For the first 5 years of our business, we pretty much gave no terms to our customers either, because we would be found by them on the internet. They would be Googling certain products or certain knowledge. They would fall onto our website and see that we knew what we were talking about. We had a really well organized e-commerce website, which is now the Green Tech Renewables website, is essentially the old CivicSolar website.
So when they merged, did they take a
Yeah.
lot of your IP and stuff like that? And
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't too much. Yeah, there was some IP in the business, but it was not like a patented IP. It was a lot of organizational IP in terms of how to manage and run and build a internet business.
So are they still doing things that you developed, CED?
What do you mean by developed?
Like just like you were saying, all your procedures, like when they bought
yeah,
Civic
I mean,
Solar,
right.
like how did that work? Or did they, I mean, I guess they completely got rid of the Civic Solar brand because I don't see
the
it anymore.
CivicSolar brand unfortunately got put to the sideline. But our CED is a amazing organization with now I think 100 plus solar warehouses and probably 500-600 plus electrical warehouses. They're a almost 70-year-old organization.
And I think you said that you didn't have warehouses.
We did not.
How did that work then? How did you get people equipment?
So that was kind of the magic sauce. In the beginning, we actually partnered with what you would think are our competitors. So I remember going to 2009 SPI, RE Plus now, in Anaheim. I think it was in Anaheim. It was in LA area. And so we went and talked to Canadian Solar and a bunch of other major panel manufacturers, and we said, Sharp, I think at the time, and a couple others, we said, we want to sell your panels, and we're thinking of selling it on the internet. And we had a mock-up e-commerce site. We created a page with their brands and their products. Would you be interested in it if we sold it? They're like, sure, go ahead and sell it. Minimum order size is $1 million. You can buy it and then sell it anywhere you want. We're like, well, I don't know if we want to buy $1 million without knowing anything about the solar business in 2009, is what we initially thought. And then said, is there any other way? And they said, well, you can go work with our master distributors. We're like, okay. So then we went to these master distributors. Actually, we called some of those master distributors. They would not even return our calls. It was so difficult to get quality service and knowledge. But luckily, we did meet a couple of those guys at the trade show and said, would you be interested in, if we called you and bought some product from you, would you sell it to us, or would you drop ship it for us? And they said, yeah. So essentially, in the first several, or actually 4 or 5 years, what we did was mostly generate business and then drop ship it from our competitors. But if the order was big enough, we could have the products drop shipped from the warehouse of the panel manufacturer or the inverter manufacturer, even for big inverter orders and things like that. So we essentially worked as almost like something of a hybrid of a broker / value-added reseller business model without carrying any inventory for the first 5, 6, 7 years. And then at some point, when there was too much demand and not enough supply, it became difficult to secure supply and product. At that point, we started securing some inventory, mostly panels, so that we could use that as the anchor to get some business and then sell the other stuff. So it was a more of a bootstrap approach to building carving a 2-3% market share for ourselves in the grand resi and commercial market of solar, which is billions of dollars now. So yeah, that was a 10-year journey, which ended in a nice way with CD Green Tech.
Great. Yeah, CED, I think, I'm pretty sure they're the biggest distributor right now.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
And it looks like you have a degree, an MBA from Harvard Business School.
That's right.
That probably helps open some doors.
Yeah, it did. Definitely. It definitely did. Yeah.
And then and looks like an engineering and management degree at Northwestern.
Industrial engineering degree from Northwestern. That was my undergrad. Like I was telling you, I grew up in Turkey and came to the US for college. Came to Chicago without having seen the school. I was accepted, and I came with a suitcase in my hand and
you learned about being cold.
Being cold, that's right. Great winters in Chicago. Yeah.
Yeah, probably a little different from Istanbul.
Actually, Istanbul gets all 4 seasons. We do get about a couple of weeks of snow every year in Istanbul. Pretty much.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah. Istanbul is more north than New York and Paris, actually, if you look at it on a latitude basis. But then southern Turkey is kind of like at the same latitude as maybe Florida, Georgia. So we do get nice warm weather on southern Turkey and also on the Aegean coast facing the Greek islands.
Yeah, a lot of history there.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Great.
Yeah. So, and then you might wonder how did my Solar Academy idea start? And so because we were in the business of educating in a VAR style all these contractors, I would observe our sales floor, and we would be constantly repeating the same few keys, 2, 3, 4 sentences about each product that we took away from our training, because our vendors, like people like Nico from Trina, or
And you mean Nico Johnson?
yeah, Nico
Yep.
Johnson, who used to
Used to
work
work
for
for Tria. Yeah.
Trina, and all the other major panel manufacturers, inverter manufacturers, racks and racking manufacturers, they would come in to our offices. They would send their channel managers or their partner managers or their regional salespeople or trainers or product managers, depending on the company and the role. They would send these people to our office to train our people in person for an hour. We would make sure that every week we would have at least 1 hour of training for our salespeople, account managers, and then the next day I would be on the sales floor, and I would hear that whatever was taught in the training the day before, they would be repeating those same, like they would all take away these 2, 3, 4 key sentences and repeat those to the customers, because those were the value propositions of those companies. And I would be thinking, man, what an inefficient way to educate the market. Like we're all repeat. It's like whisper down the lane game we're playing all the time with all these vendors. Why can't we just leverage video? So maybe even capture those 2, 3 sentences from the mouth of the trainer or the product manager of that vendor. We still know a lot more about those products as we work with them day in, day out. But why don't we like transfer some of that with video? It would be so much more credible. And the other aspect of our business model at CivicSolar, and also the business model of creating a social network, was the fact that the more content you put on a platform, the more people and eyeballs came to it. And so that's how we got our hundreds of customers. We would get approximately 100+ customers every month for free with zero marketing spend, because we didn't even spend too much money on Google SEO. We did a few SEO tricks, but not too much. We would get all these incoming calls for free because of the fact that we put more information on the web, more than our competitors. Our brick and mortar competitors didn't really have proper websites. We did have some internet-based competitors, like web-based distributor competitors, but we did a slightly better job than them in terms of curating our site and designing it and putting the information, and we really gave great customer service. So I would be thinking, okay, if we put video also, it would make us even stronger. But at the time, there was a lot of resistance to video, and video technologies weren't this readily available and cheap. But then what changed all of this was COVID. When COVID happened, a lot of the B2B conversations shifted from being face-to-face to being on Zoom, as we're doing now. And Zoom became a normal part of life. And it also became really easy to hit record and record a conversation, just like we're doing now. So, and that kind of told me, okay, now is the time to really do the things that you were thinking of doing at CivicSolar on a new platform to facilitate knowledge flow up and down the value chain across the industry. And that's why I relaunched Solar Academy after COVID, basically to capture these types of conversations so we don't have to repeat ourselves all the time. So we can capture those value proposition sentences once from the mouth of the product manager or the business leader, sales manager, sales leader, marketing leader, and then put it on a platform where it can be captured forever and shared to help their sales and marketing processes, post-sale as well as pre-sale.
Great. So like maybe a little bit about the history of solaracademy.com. So I know that when I believe that Jacob
Travis,
who started the Ontario Solar Academy,
so
it was kind of strange how he started it up too. He went to some Canadian solar meeting and then he just started signing people up for classes. And he didn't even have a trainer yet. And then he found me. And then I came up there and I was like going to hotels and it was just a gold mine. And the thing it didn't last for that long. And
He
because it
ran
was
it
just
for
like,
several years, I believe, right?
yeah, but I think the gold mine part where he was, I think it was something like he would sell a seat for $3,600 and get 30 or 40 people once a month.
Yep.
But that didn't last because then
Yeah.
all these other people moved into town to do the training.
Yep.
And then a lot of people got trained too.
Yeah.
And and then it became more cutthroat. And I remember
Yeah.
Infinite Solar moved up there, and I was teaching for Infinite Solar in Philadelphia, and they
Yeah.
saw that it was taking off like crazy. Anyway, during my experience, which was a great experience, I loved working with everybody up there in Canada. And remember, I had a
Mm-hmm.
girlfriend up there,
Mm-hmm.
and I was probably there like 1 or 2 weeks out of the month for a year. And but
Mm-hmm.
then all the easy signups for the classes went down. I remember the last class I taught there was like maybe like 5 people, and he probably gave them discounts, and it just and he had
Mm-hmm.
like huge bills because he was like renting a big space and not, all these people
Yeah.
working
Yeah.
for him and stuff. And so it just kind of went from it's like a gold rush. It went from like a gold mine to the bottom of the solar coaster. We always talk about the
Right.
solar coaster. And then I moved on, did different things.
Yeah.
And I know I think he had a couple other trainers. He was trying to like pay less for trainers so he could still make his hundred thousand
Yeah.
dollar months he was shooting for.
Yeah.
But
I don't know much about that
mhm,
business at that time
mhm,
and the details of what Jacob did, but Jacob has been super helpful to me
mhm,
because in the early years of CivicSolar, we were doing pretty well with our distribution business. And at the time, we said we should also get into solar development so we understand a little bit more about our customers' world and their challenges and their business models. So and we started thinking, okay, what do we do? We definitely don't want to compete with our residential and commercial customers here in the US market. And we looked into developing utility scale solar farms. And then the Canadian market seemed the best because they had those 40, 44 cents,
yeah.
45-cent
Mhm,
feed-in tariffs for 20
yep.
years.
Mhm,
And so, and then I started poking around that market, um, Googling information, searching on LinkedIn, and that's how I met Jacob. And Jacob connected us to at the time, a young, probably Michael Zimmerman, who was at the time probably in his late 20s, early 30s, former investment banker, quit his investment banking job and started some solar development projects in the Ontario region. And with him, we developed 2+ megawatts of solar utility solar farms, 3 of them, and that's how became we became partners with Michael Zimmerman of Group for Solar in the Canadian market, and and Jacob was essentially the person that introduced us. So he has been a very helpful
great.
person to
Mhm,
me, and in that whole 2 years of Canadian adventures where we developed these solar farms, I kept in touch with Jacob. I would see him, you know, not at every trip, but maybe every other or every third trip that I would do to make to Canada from California. And I got to, at some point, we were talking about education and my solar academy vision that was really sparking from my CivicSolar experience. And at the time, actually, I didn't have, obviously, Jacob had the solaracademy.com URL. I did not even know that. I searched for solaracademy.com. It
uh-huh.
wasn't available. So I bought solaracademy.com and started tinkering on that website, like on that URL, with some curated YouTube videos just to educate our new employees at CivicSolar and any potential customer if they wanted to watch those videos. So I started curating some learning paths on solaracademy.com, and then you
Without
know
the A, without the A
without the
for
A,
Academy.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
without the A, and then somewhere along my 2-year adventures between 2012 and 2014, I told Jacob about this. He's like, dude, I own Solar Academy. And then he told me about his classes, I guess, that he was doing with you back then. And um, and I said, would you be interested in selling? And he said, no, not really. And then we stayed in touch with Jacob. I still message with him here and there and talk to him
Yeah, tell him I said
once
hi. I
every
haven't talked to him in
once
so
every
long, like
once
over a
every
decade. Yeah.
yeah, I talk to him once a year or maybe once
Uh-huh.
every 2 years. But so at some point he essentially he called me up and said, "Hey, are you still interested in this? I'll give it to you." And I'm like, "Really?" And so he gave it to me at a really low price. And he knew about my vision of what I wanted to create, which is essentially to make it easy for people to share their knowledge, especially their asymmetric information advantage. Because when we create our asymmetric, the definition of asymmetric information advantage is the definition of profit, is how they taught us at business school, because that's how profit is made in the business world. You know something that others don't, and you create a product or service with that. But the more we share that, the better of a world we create. And the initial instinct of people is to not share that information advantage from a game theory perspective. That's also something they teach us at business school. But I think the more we play that game theory way of living, the more wars we have. And the more we play the game of sharing, givers gain, and we create more things by that knowledge. And that's essentially what I want to do with Solar Academy, is to make it a habit, change that habit of instinctually holding that information advantage to yourself, but make it more of a sharing. I'm not saying share your deepest and darkest secrets or deepest secret sauce to your business, but share more. Because the more you share, the more customers it brings, the more partners it brings, the more prospects it brings to you. So I want to make it easy for companies to share these things in a logical and curated manner on a platform. So like what we're aspiring to do with Solar Academy, and Nico is a partner of mine in that endeavor,
Nico
is
Johnson.
yeah,
Yep.
Nico Johnson. We want to capture, like, as like if you go to a SPI or RE Plus trade show or InterSolar, you know, we there's tons of conversations happening on the trade show floor, on the booths. Imagine being able to capture 80% of those conversations, and imagine having a place where you can go and search for those conversations. The trade show business is not going to go away. People still will want to connect in person and have that deep human connection, but also having a digital platform that complements that knowledge transfer, and have a place where you can search for knowledge, and not just like training knowledge like you are training, but product knowledge, because these companies are constantly, there are thousands of companies innovating products and services all the time in the industry. If they could all put out a press release for every cool innovation they did, we would have so much more data than the 5 vertical media companies that are really covering the industry. And so essentially I want to create a platform that captures more of this information to ignite more innovation and more commerce, for an opportunity for those looking to do that.
Great, great. So
Yeah.
it sounds like you're using some of your experiences from
Yeah,
social media
it's a mesh of
and
my two.
solar and
It's
putting
a
it all
mesh.
together.
Yeah,
And
it's a
then
mesh.
people don't have to go to the trade show and they can learn. And I kind of even look at my podcast like that too.
Yeah.
We had the 50th anniversary party for NorCal Solar, which is an ASUS, American Solar Energy Society chapter.
Mm-hmm.
And we posted me interviewing people at the party, and so it was kind of like people being at the party. It was kind of,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
you're like what you were saying is, if you can go to the trade show, record
Yeah.
some things, and then it's like you get in on the conversation, even if you're not there, or maybe you were there and you're just in a different conversation.
Right. But in our current business model at Solar Academy, we don't even go to the trade show. In fact, Nico Johnson's Suncast Media now has a division um, where I'm actually helping them to create a business where we are creating marketing services, essential, a marketing service agent, marketing agency, in a way where we're providing those video capturing capabilities at a trade show. But you don't want to capture all these conversations necessarily at a trade show either. Like, a lot of good conversations happen on Zoom when a salesperson or a marketing leader or a business leader of any company is talking to any prospect or customer, and if they could just hit record and record themselves talking, explaining something really well, and after they hang up the call, I'm like thinking to themselves, man, that was really good, I explained that really well in a way that resonated with that customer. Imagine if they could reshare that conversation on their profile page on Solar Academy. That's the experience that or that's the user interface and the format of content that we are designing on Solar Academy. Maybe I can give you a quick tour of it if you like, because essentially I would like to be able to promote you and Brian Hayden's HeatSpring and the classes you guys create there on Solar Academy.
Great, yeah.
So this is how we do it.
Make you an affiliate and you make some money.
Yeah, totally.
So another thing though is mostly my listeners are audio. So they're driving and things like that. So maybe even though you're kind of showing us something, we can kind of make
we can put a link to
friendly.
Or make it maybe well, I don't know how to give this view that I'm going to give on my screen share of the Solar Academy website in an audio friendly way, but I guess they can go to solaracademy.com.
So we're at solaracademy.com.
And not the solaracademy.com, which is a separate business that trains salespeople on how to be good residential salespeople, which is a separate business.
They could get rid of the and just have plain old solaracademy.com like you do.
Honestly, I think those things matter not that much. It's it's the business and the execution and all the other details that matter so much more.
Anyway, we're looking at your website and it has solar conversations.
Yeah, so
you have like energy tool base and different conversation. Looks like Zoom calls, I guess, just like us. So we're going to be on there.
Exactly. And so and what I generally capture is, so for example, now let me do a quick search here with Energy Tool Base in the search box. Yep, which is a leading software for proposal generation and really capturing the ROI calculations for mostly CNI system sizing,
storage.
Yeah. So what you'll see here, if you go to the Energy Tool Base, so I did get, when I did the search, I got a bunch of results, including some solar conversations, which is what we call our episodes, if you will, our podcast-like episodes. But I also have the Energy Tool Base profile page here and other pieces of news and articles that have the word Energy Tool Base in it, and our weekly digest that mention them. But first, I'm going to go to the Energy Tool Base profile page. And what you see here are all the conversations that we capture with them. This is me interviewing various people, leaders from Energy Tool Base. Adam Gerza, who's very active in many areas of the solar industry and a key person at Energy Tool Base since their early days, essentially almost like a co-founder, if not a co-founder.
Yeah, it looks like a whole bunch of conversations. What do you got about?
Yeah, we talked about
10 or 15 there.
Yeah, we have probably like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 separate conversations talking everything about what the Inflation Reduction Act means for the solar market, to the economics of residential battery and storage, to NEM 3's effect on the CNI solar market, as well as the residential. And then me interviewing their various different product leaders within Energy Tool Base, talking about various modules of the software platform, you know, and their newly launched enterprise services division, and as well as their Acumen EMS module, which is great for forecasting and you know,
Great.
EMS, and then you know, our last conversation was with their product manager that talks about, you know, various solar plus storage
So
operational
do you
performance.
recruit people to be in these conversations, or do they find you, or a little bit of both?
I
Like
would say it's
say if somebody has got a
I
company they're trying to promote, should they call you?
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
And then how do they get a hold of you? Like I know you're on LinkedIn.
So if you go to About Us and contact us, there's
Yeah.
a team at Solar
Oh, that,
Academy. That
yeah,
email sends
that's
to
how I
me.
found you, I guess.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and also they can just find me on LinkedIn, Kerem Baran,
Mhm.
or Kerem at solaracademy.com. And
So Karen Baran, and that's,
yeah,
let's spell your name here. It's KERIMBARAN. Great.
correct. Yeah. And so, yeah, so you know that's just like one example that I gave you. But we are doing this. We've done this with many companies, including you know, recently LG Electronics, Dynapower, um,
Mhm.
you know, Light Source BP, Meyer Burger, Chin Power Systems, and a ton of startups too. You know, having
Mhm.
been a two-time startup guy, I have a special heart
Sure.
for founders, and so um, anytime a early stage startup that is making some traction, getting some customers, found their you know, their product market fit and a proven MVP, I love to promote them, and we do that almost for free. So, and let me tell you a little bit about our process. We call it teach, but we're not really teaching in the way you're necessarily teaching.
Hmm.
We define teaching as whether you're marketing, selling, or training in the advanced energy industry, you're teaching something to someone. So we make it easy for you to share your wisdom with others. And by putting your content on video on our platform, um, we help you first distribute that content more easily, also establish trust and credibility by the fact that you're putting your face on video and making some statements publicly. And we also help accelerate your sales cycle. And we talk about, you know, why we created Solar Conversation the way we did in a video on this page. I'm on the teach page of Solar Academy now, um,
Great.
which is accessible. And
Yeah,
and
and
then
I was thinking, I guess what makes our things different, what we do a little bit
mm-hmm,
different, is you're talking to a lot of people that are manufacturers, they have their specific products and things like that. And
exactly.
I'm trying to train people to get NABCEP certified. So I'm very unbiased as far as which brand to use, or say microinverters versus string inverters. I just give plus and minuses of both sides.
Yeah.
And I guess you would also, you could do
You
that
know,
too,
yeah,
but you have like a manufacturer of one product and then a
right.
manufacturer of another product.
So we host all of those companies and products on Solar Academy as well, or we would host all of them as well, that want to, you know, create content with us on the platform. Essentially, the service we're giving them is we we provide them with a easy to accomplish process of creating video content and putting that content out there. You know, not in, you know, 5, 10, tens of thousands of dollars, but really on the low end of you know, $1,000 or $2,000 kind of price point per video production piece. And
Okay, so you charge the people to be on the website. That's your,
we don't really
yeah.
charge to post on the website as much as we charge for creating the providing the services to create the video and then distribute that in various other platforms as well.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, yeah, and we talk to these people about their origin stories of their companies and their products, functions and features of the products, case studies, customer testimonials, purpose, culture, values of their company. So we try to organize these conversations about things that they naturally would market about their company. So a little bit more of a marketing oriented content, if you
Great.
will.
Well,
Than
and of
yeah,
course, I'm marketing things too. I'm
yeah,
marketing get yourself NABCEP certified, and
sure, yeah, yeah,
so
absolutely. And
we're marketing
there's
good things, saving the
yeah,
planet, being able to
yeah,
breathe.
yeah,
Those are
yeah,
oxygen.
yeah, yeah,
Huh?
yeah. And there's definitely a need for certification. So with that in mind, what I would like to ask you is, how did you get into training? Like if I were to do a Solar Academy series on you, and I could do all of these 4 topics in one conversation,
Sure.
if you wish, we could make this a longer solar conversation than usual. Um, so we could talk about your story, your origin story. Um, I think somebody told me that you used to be a chiropractor
Yeah. Yeah.
prior to solar. So how did you end up
Mm,
shifting from being a chiropractor to a solar energy professional? And then how did you end up being the premier #1
mhm.
solar technical trainer in the world, if you
Uh-huh.
will?
Yeah.
And
So,
so
yeah. So, uh-huh.
and then what I would also like to dive into a little bit is how, what are your key products and services today? What have they been in the past, if you want to go there, or what do you think is coming in the near future? What do we want to talk about that is most relevant to your customers? Maybe talk a little bit about your customers, how they benefit from your services and offerings, how to find you, and what you aspire to become in the next 3, 4, 5 years and more. Yeah, we can talk all about that, and then I can turn that into a solar conversation under Sean White's profile and break it into chapters. Oh, one thing I didn't show you is um, we take every conversation, and every conversation we break it into generally 5 to 10 sub chapters, like now YouTube allows you to do. But we also
Oh.
edit them into shorter 2 minute, 5 minute,
Mm-hmm.
10 minute type sub chapters within one conversation, and then we transcribe the whole thing with a human, not just AI, but also human
Mm-hmm.
corrected
Mm.
final transcription, to make you more findable, more SEOable, and also to create future learning pathways between various chapters and subsections of various different conversations for the future. So I would love to take your parts of your marketing pitch and
Mm-hmm.
create that for
Mm.
you, so to funnel as much NAPSAP training business to you as
Mm-hmm.
you would like.
Great. Awesome. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just,
So let's start
like
with the Sean White story.
how it started. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I first saw the sun when I was born. So I knew that was something special.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Do you actually have a memory of that? Seriously?
no, I
Okay.
don't think so. Yeah, probably. I don't know, somewhere in the subconscious. But around the time when my daughter Shia was born, so
Mm-hmm.
around 1995, I started hanging out at Jerry Brown's house, and
Mm-hmm.
that was between him doing different things. And he had this organization called We the People, and we would go running and do Tai Chi and eat healthy foods and spend the night and all this kind of stuff. And one of the people living there was my good friend Paul Fenn, and that's how I met him. And he wrote a law called community choice aggregation. And so we're
Mm-hmm.
talking somewhere around like 1995, 96 is
Wow.
when this happened. And it's you've probably heard of CCAs, or community choice
Sure.
aggregation.
Sure.
And so right now, somewhere over 10% of the people in the United States get their electricity through a CCA. And
Mm-hmm.
essentially what they're doing is they're decoupling the purchasing of electricity from the wires and distribution and all that. So
Yeah.
the utility
Yeah.
gets to keep the wires and the distribution and the billing, and then the municipality gets to make a CCA, community choice aggregator, and they purchase the electricity, and it's always greener and cheaper, the
Yeah.
electricity with a CCA. And so I would
Is it always cheaper or is it the same price sometimes?
sometimes it's pretty close, and then you can sometimes they're all different, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you can opt for something that's even greener,
Yep.
like 100% green, and maybe it's even
Mm-hmm.
more expensive.
Mm-hmm.
But and pretty much what happens is when your municipality decides to do a CCA, you're automatically in the CCA, but you can opt out of it and you could still get the
Right.
non-CCA electricity, but barely anybody would ever opt out of it.
Yeah.
Um, but then the utility spent, I forget if it was like tens of millions of dollars in San Francisco campaigning against this when
Yep.
it first came to to California.
Yep.
And my friend Paul Finn and me holding up signs and things like that. I remember we were just like making signs and campaigning and meeting with supervisors and things like that. And we won. Again, I remember the newspaper article was like, it's a David and Goliath story,
Yeah.
because it was just like small timers against millions of dollars with of utility campaign money.
Yeah.
And so I was doing some technical research for him. And you got to remember, back then the
Mm-hmm.
solar industry was way different.
Yeah.
It was even in the year 2000, which was years later,
Sure.
there was a whole gigawatt of solar in the whole world.
Well, yeah.
So
Yeah.
I would just guess there was probably like a couple hundred megawatts in the whole world back
Yeah.
then at
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
So there's like many, many projects that are just, the one project is more than that. There's a lot of people
Yeah.
listening right now. They're like, what? I've done a whole bunch more than that.